The door was a rectangle of expectation, the place where everything began to feel right again. Ava lingered in the doorway, weekend bag slung over one shoulder, the warm salt air still on her skin, and then the words hit her, precise, vicious, and spoken by Mark like a verdict. "Why is this parasite here? Get the hell out." The room tilted. 15 faces, casual as a picnic, turned like gulls toward her. Shoes on the white carpet, glasses half drunk, a man with a hand on a cooler, a woman nursing a beer. Her name floated uselessly in the air. "Ava," she said, "because names sometimes anchor you when the world wants to make you vanish." Mark's finger jabbed. "You heard me. We're having a family thing. Nobody invited you." Her sister Nora stood by the island, phone an invisible shield. She'd nodded to Ava 2 days before, at their mother's birthday, and promised nothing of this. Later she would say she didn't think Ava would come, but promises and assumptions are 2 different debts. Ava's past lives were a compressed montage under her ribs, long nights tagging turtles on the shore, the dissertation that smelled of coffee and salt, the foreclosure that became a doorway rather than a disaster. She had turned that derelict property into a sanctuary, spare key handed to Nora because family, because trust. Now trust lay in splinters on the living room floor. She smiled. It wasn't a reconciliation. It was the smile of a woman who had learned how to be still before a storm.
"Fine," she said.
"I'll leave." But the door closing behind her was not the end. It was the first quiet in a storm she would own. Ava sat in her car and made the calls with the clarity of someone who had already accepted her own edge. Attorney Hale listened. His voice was slow and steady, a counterweight. "You are the owner," he said. "You have remedies. We will use them." The plan he described over coffee and the quiet hum of downtown gave her purpose and a legal instrument to shape the chaos. It was deliberate, measured, not vindictive for its own sake, but exacting. At 3 in the afternoon, the lights died. For a moment, the laughter stalled like a record on a scratch. Someone cursed. Someone else fumbled for a phone flashlight. Maybe they thought it was a coincidence. Maybe they thought it would be fixed. Ava let the silence settle like a blueprint. She told them she had suspended utilities. The island murmured into panic. Mark's voice rose, the tenor of entitlement cracking into anger. Nora's hand flew for her phone, but she no longer had the simple authority to fix what she had assumed she could promise away. "You gave our family no prior warning," Nora said. "There are elderly people here. Children. You gave them my house without asking me," Ava said. "You invited strangers into my sanctuary." Argument is a currency. Ava chose to spend it and then save the remainder. When the sheriff's deputy checked the property, the house looked like a life that had been used and mistaken for a free resource. Wine bled into the carpet. Cigarette ash had scarred the deck. The bedroom, once a place for quiet, had been rifled. Ava's phone camera recorded every indignity, a trash-strewn counter, a jewelry box left open. And then the absence of something that hurt more than debris, the empty velvet cushion where her grandmother's pearl necklace should have sat. Her breath left her in a single sash, not for the appraisal value, for what the pearls represented, a woman's dying wish, a simple benediction to stay curious and strong. They were not currency. They were lineage. Officer Ramirez took Ava's statement with a cadence that made the truth feel official in the best way, recorded, time-stamped, and turned into action. Detective Carter appeared with a folder and the kind of eyes that have seen enough greed to understand its particular shape. The pawnshop footage was patient and small. In grainy pixels, Mark's profile passed across a countertop. The timestamp matched the night they'd been at the house. It was terrible and clean as a photograph. Carter did the rest. A warrant.
An arrest.
The press arrived the next morning like tidewater. There were the expected calls. Pity, recrimination, bargaining. Drop it, Nora pleaded. Think of the kids. Think of the family. Ava listened to each plea like a weather report. Storms come and go. She thought of the necklace in its velvet and the words her grandmother had pressed to her ear. Forgiveness is often sold as a commodity. Ava had never wanted to buy it at someone else's price. When the police called with the news, the necklace found, pawnshop owner cooperating, the relief was thin and metallic. The rest came as Detective Carter described a deeper ledger. Mark's embezzlement, audits, vanished vendor payments. It widened the wound into a chasm. They would prosecute. The law would do its work. After everything, the house still smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and salt. Ava spent hours walking from room to room, cataloging what was broken, what was salvageable, what had been lost. She ordered a cleaner, then a contractor. Locks were changed. Cameras installed. She took photographs for the insurance and for a file that would live behind a password and a drawer. Days collapsed into the slow work of restoration, and with each repaired corner the sense of violation thinned into something practical. Boundaries. Leah, Mark's younger sister, showed up one evening with 2 cups of coffee and an expression that wasn't quite apology, but a beginning. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know that won't fix anything." But he never could see what he was doing. I wanted to tell you, I think you did the right thing." Ava accepted the coffee. The gesture landed like a possible titapool, small, contained, honest. Nora came to Ava a month later, hollowed by the shock of betrayal, the crowd of relatives who'd taken sides, and the slow unraveling of a marriage built on secrets. She did not ask for everything to be the same. She asked for the truth to be shared. "I was wrong," she said. "I thought keeping quiet would keep our family together. I don't have that excuse anymore." Ava could have responded with a list of all the moments that had led here, dozens of little compromises that added up to disaster. Instead, she chose a simpler ledger. "I forgive you," she said, not because the old days would return, but because she was tired of carrying the weight of resentment. Nora's shoulders dropped in a way that looked like beginning. Ava hosting small dinners for colleagues, laughter like netting catching good things. Nora working a steady job and studying for a certification, learning the details of writing a life. Mark behind bars, his family fractured, restitution ordered, audits completed. The beach house, at last, reclaimed, new paint, a scrap of the old necklace's memory in a safer place. Ava sat on the deck with a thin cup of coffee and watched the ocean take the light. The house she had fought for hummed like a thing alive, not because of the walls or the windows, but because she had chosen it and defended it. Sometimes revenge is portrayed as bright and hot like an explosion. This revenge was quieter, legal, deliberate, and exacting. It wasn't about spectacle. It was about boundaries and respect. On that evening, a text popped up from Leah. "Girls' weekend next month. Just you, me, and 2 friends. No drama." Ava smiled and tapped back. "I'd like that." She remembered her grandmother's advice as the sun dissolved into the horizon. Stay curious. Stay strong. She had done both.